Hi guys, Mike here. Hope you're doing well. Me, Matt, our mate Connor, and my dad went to go and see Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey yesterday. I went to go and see it in IMAX because, hey, that's how we were told you had to go and see this movie. So let's get into the review. So, I don't think it's controversial to say that Christopher Nolan has got to be one of the greatest filmmakers working today. I mean, look at his filmography. He's done crime with Memento and Insomnia. He's done superhero movies with the Dark Knight trilogy. He's done sci-fi with Interstellar and Inception and even Tenet to an extent. He's done war movies with stuff like Dunkirk and Oppenheimer, which was his most recent one until this one. And yeah, he's just a guy who you can't quite pin him down in terms of like what genre he feels the most comfortable in. It's always some kind of weird, mind-bendy kind of, strange sort of genre that he seems to have sort of invented himself. But he always delivers. So when they announced that he was going to be adapting Homer's The Odyssey, there was a bit of, ooh, that'll be interesting. So, there was a lot of build up to this movie's release. I mean, when it was announced, it was like, yes, Christopher Nolan's going to do The Odyssey. This is great. This is a story from like nearly 3,000 years ago. It's a very, very famous story. And Christopher Nolan being at the helm, yes, how can this go wrong? And then there was a little bit of controversy in terms of casting choices, which we will get into later, but not for now. So when the casting choice controversy came up, everyone started to get a bit nervous and everyone was like, oh God, is this going to be... There were even people saying like, oh my God, is this going to be Christopher Nolan's first flop? Is this going to end his career? Being all dramatic as people are, and the internet is really. So I'm always someone who says, look, you can't judge a film until you've gone to see it. And we went to go and see it yesterday, and this might be my favourite film of the year. Not only that, it might be my favourite Nolan movie. I'd have to watch it again to solidify it. I really do want to go and see it again. I might go and see it again this week. But yeah, let's get into Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. So, basic plot of The Odyssey, in case you're not familiar with it. After the Trojan War, Odysseus and his men are desperately trying to get home to their city of Ithaca. But they are just met with obstacle after obstacle after obstacle, and it's like the gods just don't want them to get home. And yes, so here's the review of The Odyssey. What can I start off with the positives on? Let's give it his due. Christopher Nolan always gives 110% anytime he does a movie. The fact that the scale of his movies are just so epic. And the fact that this was the first film that was shot entirely on IMAX cameras. They even showed the ratio difference of, if you actually watch the film not in IMAX, you don't see a lot of the film. You get this where you should be getting this. And it's just but he's someone who is just dedicated to his craft. He's never someone who, I mean, let's be honest, right? Christopher Nolan has the legacy where he's one of the most acclaimed directors out there at the moment, and he doesn't need to keep pushing himself. He's got the legacy. He's got, he's made some of the greatest films ever. He never has the mindset of, well, my last film absolutely stunned, and it did. Oppenheimer grossed nearly $1 billion and swept the Oscars. He could have just sat back and gone, yeah, do you know what? I might take it a bit easy on my next film. I might do something a bit smaller scale, maybe something a bit, a bit more indie. No, he literally just goes, no, I can do bigger and better. Let's do The Odyssey. Let's go. And it's just wow. This is a director who still has that hunger and that drive to just make great fucking films. And this is one of them. As I said before, go and see it in IMAX. You will have the best experience possible with the sound, the quality, in everything. Honestly, go and see it in IMAX, the biggest screen possible. If you have to drive to go and see it in IMAX, even if it's oh God, but my nearest IMAX screen is an hour away, honest to God, it is worth it. Trust me. The casting overall in this movie is great. Matt Damon as Odysseus. I know that was the one where everyone kind of went, that's a bit of an odd choice, but he was great. Anne Hathaway as Penelope, his wife. I would say she's probably the best in terms of like having a standout performance. There's one scene in this movie where she's talking to Tom Holland, who plays her son, and you could just take that one scene and go, that scene is enough for an Oscar nomination. It's great. You have John Leguizamo as well in kind of like a more serious role, which is strange because he usually does comedies. But I always find that if you take a predominantly comedic actor and stick him in a serious role, they're really, really good. You have, oh man, Robert Pattinson as he's basically playing one of the suitors that's kind of hanging around Ithaca. You know, this is like during the time when Odysseus is making his way back and Penelope's kind of sitting there going, no, I believe he's coming back. But everyone's looking at her going, yeah, but you kind of need to take another husband. You know, we need a ruler, you know, and your son's not quite of age yet. Robert Pattinson plays this absolute fucking dick, this slimy, weaselly little cunt. Sorry, excuse the language. But he is. I mean, you spend the whole movie you just want Odysseus to come back and shove a sword through his fucking face. But he plays it so well, and it's great. We also have Samantha Morton in this movie as Cersei the Witch. And I spent that whole sequence looking at her going, she looks familiar. And then I looked on IMDb later on and I was like, oh, Samantha Morton, that's who it fucking is. I couldn't think of the name. But yeah, it's she was great as well. We will get into, without getting into spoilers, we shall, I'll try and keep this as spoiler-free as possible in case you don't know the story and how it ends or anything like that. So yeah, but it's a nearly 3,000-year-old story. So yeah. One thing I did find in this movie is the pacing was really good as well. This is a near 3-hour movie, but the way that Nolan edits his movies, or the way his movies are edited together, I had this with Oppenheimer as well. That's a 3-hour movie, and that movie is about 98% dialogue. But the way he edits it together is no scene, like in the Odyssey, no scene feels like it's dragging on for too long. It feels like it's edited very quickly together, and it feels like you're being bounced along through the story. It doesn't feel like you're sitting there going, yeah, I'm just sitting there waiting for something to happen. You never have that. It's kind of like it keeps a really good pace. There's always something going on. It always feels like you're leading to something. And that's great. Standout sequences, my God. This was one of those films where you sat there and you went, okay, that's the standout sequence. And then 20 minutes later you go, oh, no, that's the standout sequence. 20 minutes later, no, that's the standout. And you have that about 4 or 5 times of the scene with the Cyclops is just immense. The fact they did no CGI, this was all practical. Even Nolan in interviews has said that he wants to do a horror movie one day. I think that the scene with the Cyclops and also the scene with Cersei the Witch, that is him kind of dipping his toe in and going, I could give it a go. The Cyclops scene is just so tense and nail-biting, and you're just on the edge of your seat, and the scene with Cersei the Witch is just it's so uncomfortable, and it's just wow. I cannot praise the sequences in this movie enough. The Trojan scene where they're all in the horse, this was the bit that they showed. This was one of the clips they showed when Avatar, the third one, was released. This was actually shown just before the Avatar movie. And this whole sequence where they're in the Trojan horse and they're having to kind of stay still and not move, and there's people stabbing it through the horse and having to move, and there's one guy who gets stabbed and he quickly covers his mouth because we don't want to hear it. That scene's great as well. There's just so many scenes in this movie that were just standouts. And it was just, I'm going to gush about this movie, I'm so sorry. The score by Ludwig Göransson. Now, he has worked with Christopher Nolan on, I believe it was Oppenheimer and Tenet, and I thought he did a great job in both those movies. And this one is more kind of epic and swelling and meant to feel like a real Greek story, and it was just great. And also, let's be honest, there's a third act. Without spoiling it, the third act of this movie is just so cool. I had to restrain myself from getting up in my seat and pumping my fist and going, yes, fucking yes. It was just, you're going to be so satisfied by the way this movie ends. If you're not, I don't know what's wrong with you. But yeah, this movie, man, sorry, I'm struggling for words because I just really want to go and see it again because it was just such a great film. Okay, let's talk about the controversy. I'm not going to be adding anything new to this conversation, but there were two casting choices that seemed to get everyone's goat. The first one was Lupita Nyong'o as Helen of Troy, and the second one was Elliot Page. Now, the Elliot Page one is interesting because it basically said Elliot Page, and they didn't disclose the role. And for some reason, the internet being the internet and rumours being rumours started circulating that, Elliot Page is playing Achilles. And that seemed to be what got everyone like, what? Achilles? What? You mean the character that Brad Pitt played in Troy? You're getting Elliot Page to play that role. Let's put it to bed now. Elliot Page does not play Achilles. They play a completely different character. And to be fair, their character in the film actually makes more sense because they are a soldier, but they're also kind of like the messenger. They're the one that's like, no, we're going to do this thing and we're going to leave you behind. You're basically there to convey a message. So yeah, and to be fair, Elliot Page, I think he has screen time of about 4 minutes. That might be me being generous. But for what they gave him, he did a really good job. And again, with Lupita Nyong'o, who I think is a fabulous actress. To be honest, when she did Jordan Peele's Us and she didn't get an Oscar nomination, I was furious. I was like, that should have been Oscar nomination material. But yeah, in the Odyssey, it's Helen of Troy, and she also plays Helen of Troy's twin sister as well. She's great in both those roles. Again, very, very small roles, but serviceable. So they serve what the film needs them to do, basically. Okay, now I know I've kind of gushed on this movie quite a bit. Is there anything that I would say is a bit of a negative? Not so much a negative, but it's in the mixed. And it is something that everyone knows what I'm going to say when it comes to Christopher Nolan movie. If anyone's going to mention anything, it's going to be the sound editing or the sound mixing. Now, why it's in the mixed is because there is one sequence in this movie, without spoiling it, where basically Odysseus's men have to put wax in their ears. And the way they do that with the sound design is you feel like you've got the wax in your ears as well. And you're kind of hearing, or rather not hearing what they're not hearing, but you can hear like muffled sounds and that. That was really good. But I will say this, and it's a thing with Christopher Nolan movies. There's another scene where you've got Charlize Theron as Calypso, who is talking to Odysseus. And she's trying to and the thing is there's so much ambient noise going on that you actually can't hear what she's saying. And again, that's the thing with a lot of Nolan movies. There's so much noise going on in the background that it drowns out the dialogue. And I don't know why it's something that he is insistent upon just not changing at all. I'm like, but we can't hear what the characters are saying. Again, a drop in the bucket from a fantastic movie. Oh, and also one thing I will say as well in the mixed is that the story structure is a bit all over the place in terms of it's non-linear. The first 20 minutes or so, it very much throws you about quite a bit of like, oh shit, we're here. Oh, now we're here. Oh, now we're here. I would say after a while, you do get used to it. But yeah, just initially starting off with just jumping back and forth, because a lot of it is told in flashbacks. It is a bit jarring at first, but you do get on board with it quite quickly. And also, by the time you get to the third act, it's just a very straightforward linear storyline. But yeah, I don't have any negatives apart from those mixed things that I just mentioned. I don't have anything I disliked about this movie. Yeah, guys, I cannot gush about this movie enough. Honest to God, if you are a Christopher Nolan fan, I see no reason why you would not absolutely love this movie. Go and see it in IMAX. Apparently, it's breaking box office records already. So yeah, Nolan's got another hit on his hands, and maybe an Oscar sweep next year. Who knows? So, yep, I'm going to say, in terms of my rating, it's got to be peak cinema. It's got to be. This is why you go to the movies. I mean, this film was so entertaining, and just it's the reason why I love movies so much. Just to sit in a cinema for a couple of hours and just be immersed and have an experience. And this movie was just wow. So yeah, that's the end of my review, guys. Sorry, I know I was kind of blowing this movie quite a bit, but I loved it so much. Thank you very much for watching, guys. If you like the review, give us a like. And if you want us to see more, please subscribe. Thank you very much, guys.